And we are live. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 82 of the WP Café show with me, Mark Wilkinson, and my co-host, Keith Devon. I hope you're well. Thank you very much for joining us. If you are joining us live on YouTube, you'll find us on the High Rise Digital channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you should definitely subscribe. So please do that. And a like to this video goes a long, long way. So welcome along. We've got a few topics to talk about this week. In fact, it's an ever-growing list. It started off this morning at 2 things, just hastily added by me, and it has grown to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially 6 things. So we'll see how far we get in this chat. Anyway, as always, how is your week, Keith? How are you? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, enjoyed this week. Done some fun stuff. There's been some frustrations, which we'll talk about too.
There's always frustrations.
But I've done some kind of development, some front-endy stuff, which has been fun, which we can talk about. And the weather is improving, thank goodness, because it has been awful for so long. And there's been some sunshine. It's actually, I can see blue skies outside today, so that is rather nice.
Yeah, it's been similar up here actually as well.
Yeah,
it's been a dry week, which is I seriously can't remember having a dry week since September.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's been mental. So I am looking forward to golf tomorrow with a bit more of a dry course instead of a bog.
It's due to rain again here tomorrow, but
it's Sunday for us, so hopefully we'll get away with it for an extra day. Anyway, if you are watching along on YouTube, then please say hello in the chat. Hi there to Craig. Thank you for joining us. Let us know who you are and where you're joining us from. It's always nice to see who is watching along and that we're not just talking to no one in the ether.
Yeah.
So let's get on with our first topic. Now, last week, if you were joining us, we talked very briefly, I think, about our Google AdWords campaign that Keith has been working very hard on and making really good progress with to try and promote our new product, RecPress, which, if you didn't know, is a done-for-you job board that is awesome and should be purchased by everyone that wants a job board in WordPress.
Yeah.
Just to try and get some more sales and get it out there and get the word out there. So we've had some interesting insights into how that's gone. So I'll hand you over to Keith because he's
Well, I think I might have even said on last week's show. How long has it been running for? I think we just started it, maybe.
Yeah, it wasn't very long.
And initially, things were reasonably promising. So the ad was getting a lot of impressions and a fair number of clicks, thousands of clicks. And I was like, oh, wow, this is great. Like, people are seeing the ad. And obviously, they're understanding what the product is. They want the product, and they're clicking on that ad so that they can buy the product. But the conversion rate on the page was practically zero. I had one call from a guy who was looking for a job. I was like, okay, well, I don't know if that's just a coincidence or he was just trying his luck or whatever. And then there's another person who genuinely did ask a question about the product, but then when I answered it, never got back to me. So I guess there's technically been one actual conversion, I guess, then in thousands and thousands of clicks. So my first reaction was the landing page is terrible. I got criticized last week for not putting the landing page up on the show notes or whatever. I'm like, well, I don't really want random people kind of going to it because it'll skew the stats. But anyway, I want genuine potential customers going to that landing page. If you just want to check out RecPress, go to recpress.com. So yeah, my initial thought was there's something wrong with the landing page. It's like it's just not converting. The copy's bad. The images are bad. Maybe the form doesn't work or blah, blah, blah. So I looked at it and I was like, yes, it could be improved. Like, there's definite optimizations that could be made to that landing page, but it's not a train wreck. Like, It says what it is. It outlines the benefits. There's some social proof in there. There's lots of call to actions in there. I was struggling to understand how the landing page was so bad that nobody was converting. But anyway, so I had a call with my consultant friend.
Just coming back, just come back to the landing page. I think the only thing we identified was the main headline, wasn't it? That we thought perhaps was a little bit confusing, but it wasn't a terrible headline. It was just something that we thought, I wonder if that's a tweak. So I think we did tweak that, didn't we, initially, and made a little bit of a change to the headline. But other than that, and I was with you on this, like, and you always say, like, it's good to get someone else to see the landing page because you end up looking at it so much. So I looked at it, and like you, I looked at it and thought, yeah, it's good. Like, it, you know, you could have some things better, but it's generally good. So anyway, I'll let you carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So I had a call with my friend who's helping me through all this PPC kind of stuff, and he's like, show me the like overview stats, like clicks, number of clicks, cost per click, stuff like that. I showed him. He's like, yeah, this isn't right. He's like, there's no way that there's a market that's that. You shouldn't be getting that many clicks for a start. He's like, you're getting too many clicks, so it's showing this to the wrong people. And he says your cost per click is really low. And I was like, well, that's great, right? He's like, no, that shows like that there's no kind of purchase intent behind this keyword. Like if you're bidding on something that's actually valuable when people are ready to buy, the cost per click tends to be a lot higher. Now, I don't know how all that stuff's calculated. I don't understand the algorithms or whatever, the auction algorithms, but our cost per click was hovering around 20 pence. So, you hear about some keywords where you have to bid like £5 per click because the keyword is just full of like intent for like a very specific thing. Like, I want to buy X and I'm searching for that thing right now. Those are the expensive keywords. So he's like, something's not right. So we dug into it a little bit. And what it looks like is that Google is not understanding what RecPress is. It thinks that RecPress is a job board, potentially for WordPress developers. Yep. So when we looked at our list of, I can't remember what it's called. Like, it's not called placements. It's basically like who you're bidding against. It was like Total Jobs, CV Library, Monster, Indeed, Reed, LinkedIn. I was like, oh, those are all job boards. We aren't a job board.
Yeah. so that
Google
explains why the chap
a job board.
was coming for a job, because he might have seen it thinking it was a WordPress developer job.
Exactly.
Got you.
So we're a bit stuck. I've tweaked a few little bits and pieces. But essentially, I think that because we're using this PMax, this Performance Max campaign, I've got a feeling that it doesn't give us the control we need to really narrow things down. I've added a couple of, I can't remember what they're called, audience signals, I think they're called. They're basically keywords.
Just to recap for the audience, this PMax campaign is one of the methods that you can use to run Google Ads. And it's essentially, instead of you being able to say, like, I want to target this audience with these keywords, you essentially give Google a load of headlines, images, videos, and say, work it out for yourself, essentially what the best thing is. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Yeah. So we're thinking maybe that's not the right approach, because it's clearly not being able to work out what the best audience is, or what the right audience is, should we say.
Exactly.
So it might be to roll that back and do it in a more manual way, should we say?
Well, we might have to go for a specific search campaign. So, the ads at the top of search results pages.
Right.
Because when you do that, you can be very specific about the search terms that are used, and you can do exclusions, and you can do, like, there's just way more control. Unfortunately, it doesn't have that breadth of reach, with the videos and the image assets and all this other stuff. So that's what we were hoping to take advantage of. And I think it sounds great, and I think it could work, but Google needs to understand what the product is and what your audience is. And for some products and audiences, that's probably very, very straightforward. But because this one is slightly confusing, it might not be for us. But made a few more tweaks today, added some new audience signals, basically search terms. Also added some kind of audience. I can't remember what it's called. It's not quite demographics, but it's you can basically say to Google who people are and like what their kind of interested in. So I've got recruitment technology in there as like an in-market thing, and I've said like actually recruiters, and like so I've just tried to feed it a little bit more relevant information, hoping that it kind of like guides it towards what's actually going to work.
Okay.
But the number of clicks has come down, which is a good thing, and it does look like the cost per click is slowly rising, which is actually a good thing. So we'll see if we get any more engagement on the page, like people stay on the page a bit more.
What I love about this approach we've taken, though, is that it's a couple of things. So one of them is that, like, not me, but you are learning how this stuff works. So it's not just throwing some money at a company that can then do all this stuff for you. I think it's really good that you're learning, like, what happens in these campaigns, what goes wrong, how do we need to fix it. I think that's really good, because not only for this thing, for anything else we do in the future, we've got all that knowledge then, which is brilliant, which is really good. And we're very, what's the word, like, reactive and active on, like, you know what's going wrong so you can fix it. So we're not just sat there waiting for it to get clicks. We kind of like, we can look at data and we can see what, like, if you found out the fact that the audience was wrong, you know, relatively early on, and then we're able to react to that, make some changes, fix it, and then it keeps getting better and better and better and better, hopefully.
I think what's going to be, I've got a feeling this PMAX thing isn't going to work. I think I'll give it a couple more days, maybe. And then we'll try the search and maybe YouTube ads, because with YouTube ads as well, we can put our video as an ad at the start of specific videos. So if there's a video on WP Job Manager or how to build a job board in WordPress, our ad can show up there. So it's very, very specific and very targeted, which I think might get us like much, much better results. Good question from Elliot here. Thanks for the question, Elliot. He says, percentage-wise, what's your priority over on-site SEO versus PPC traffic? 100% PPC, basically. There's kind of a couple of reasons for that. One is I want to see if it works. And if it does, it gives you much faster results. The second is because I think it's going to be really hard for us to rank well for terms that people are going to be searching for. Like SEO is such a long game in my opinion, and like
we might be able to rank for them, but it's not going to happen today, tomorrow, next week,
and it might never, because you never know what you're up against. You know,
that's the difficulty.
I'm not saying that it doesn't work, but the effort involved in SEO, in my experience, is significant, and it's getting harder and harder with all the AI content out there. So yeah, that's a couple of reasons. And I just feel like it's a game that you have to, PPC is a game that you always have to invest in and just keep chucking at money. But SEO, even if you're doing it yourself, you're investing a lot of time in trying to win that game. So yeah, I'd quite like something that I can just turn on and off. Basically, you know, we're too busy, turn off the ads. We need some work, turn on the ads.
Turn on the ads. Yeah,
you know, it's just like something like that that's just really kind of automated. And yeah, I mean, I love SEO in terms of the long-term thing, but I just think with this niche and this like particular product, I think it would be really hard to get traffic that way. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm just looking at Elliot's other question. I've actually answered this in the comments. I think I've answered it, and then I thought, I don't actually know whether Keith's got a different definition for this, but he said, what's the thinking behind the name RecPress? And for me, it was recruitment and WordPress equals RecPress, but that's I think what the answer was, unless you had a different idea.
No, lots of tools and services in the recruitment space start with rec. So it felt like it was a kind of familiar pattern for that target market.
And the domain was free.
WordPress.
So. Which always helps, doesn't it? Yeah, cool. Okay, so Google Ads, progress, struggles but progress, I think, and hopefully, I hope, you know, next week and the week after we'll have some more positive news about, you know, maybe we've got some calls booked in with potential customers, and who knows, we can try and convert some to sales, and we'll be able to report back on that. But cool. Which leads on to RecPress itself, I guess, is the next topic for discussion. So for a number of weeks, Keith and I have been sat down wondering, where to go with RecPress, and the conversation was essentially on the lines of what we've got now is, what's the word, frustrating at times, and feels like more of a proof of concept. And we find ourselves hands tied behind the back when we want to do something for a client. And I think we've identified that the reasons for that are, first of all, because it is the first iteration, was the plugin. So you've always got things that you've got to make decisions on when you don't know any data from customers. So you make a decision on X, and actually it turns out all the customers want Y. Therefore, we need to be able to pivot from that and make it work for all our customers. And then the other big thing was that you may or may not know that it's based on the WP Job Manager plugin. And we've made the decision to move away from that. So we're actually going to roll our own job board because it gives us much more scope and flexibility. And when we sat down and we kind of wrote out a list of the pros and cons, and there wasn't that much on the pros list. And actually stuff that was on the pro list for using Job Manager was stuff that we don't actually use. So one of the big pros was like Job Manager has got this massive community of add-ons, and you've got access to those when using Job Manager. But actually, we just don't, and people don't request them almost.
Yeah.
So it didn't make much sense to stick with this plugin that was kind of like causing problems for the benefits that we didn't actually use. So I've started building RecPress version 2. Thoroughly enjoyed building a plugin again and getting down to coding some stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going quite well. It's been some challenges in there. If you follow me on Twitter, you should, WP Mark. You'll probably see some of the challenges I've had, mostly with the block editor, things like manipulating taxonomy terms on that screen. Been a bit difficult. But yeah, it's going well. I've enjoyed that, and hopefully RecPress version 2 will be a step forward for clients and for us. But it is a breaking change, so this will be a separate thing to the customers we've already got. I'm not saying we won't be able to migrate existing customers to this, but they won't be able to upgrade to like version 2 because it's a completely different architecture. As I said, we're not using Job Manager, so it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to sort of upgrade. But if you are a RecPress customer now, don't worry, you'll still be supported, you'll still be looked after. So we'll see what we get from it. But yeah, that's been my week, really, plodding away doing that, testing stuff out. It's been cool. I've enjoyed it, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So that's
I'm excited about that. I think that's going to be good for us. And Sam agrees. Sam says great to see.
Hey, thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Sam. I know you're
Sam
doing similar stuff. So
yeah, Sam was answering some of my questions on Twitter. So thank you very much for your input on that. Appreciate it. It was good. Right, onward to topic number 3. And this is, again, back over to you for some stuff you've been doing with the block editor. So we have a long-term client who has about 5 different recruitment websites that we maintain and build upon and develop for. And they came to us with a couple of tasks, one of which was to build like a timeline page. So they wanted to have, in March we did this, April we did this, May we did this, and then have sort of images and content associated with each of those events in the timeline. And they also wanted to do like a stat count up thing. You'll have seen them all before on the internet. You have a series of statistics, and then as they appear on the page, they count up from 0. So you get this indication that things are growing. So we were tasked to build those, and I think the outcome of these has been fantastic. So I'll leave it over to Keith because he basically built it. He didn't need me. So
yeah,
I'll let you tell how and what you did.
Yeah, I mean, I might still need you to do some stuff, but yeah. So basically, like the timeline one, if you follow me on Twitter, which you should, at Keith Devon, I tweeted the kind of result of the timeline block there, just a little kind of video showing the animation. So it's a kind of standard thing. You scroll down the page and little line kind of animates down, and like this happens at this time, this happens at this time, this happens at this time. So I mean, it definitely could be reused for different purposes, but for this specific client, I just did it with a media text block and I gave that media text block a custom style. And then I did all of my JavaScript goodness using that and CSS. So I gave that custom style some custom CSS and some JavaScript so that I was using scroll intersection observer API for the kind of scroll down the page. So as it comes into view, do something. So I was using that to kind of animate things in, which looks really nice and it's actually really easy to use. So I can just basically add a class. So when it's on the screen, give it a class of is on screen or has scrolled in or something is visible. And then you can do everything you want within the CSS. So the JavaScript side of it was very, very simple. All the animations were really done with CSS.
I was just going to say, so the JavaScript is listed for toggling the class, and the CSS controls all the showing and hiding and fading in.
Yeah, exactly. And then to kind of package that up into something that the client can use more easily, I just turned it into a pattern. So I saved it in my patterns directory, saved the kind of block markup in there, and then used a little bit of locking stuff down. So you can't remove this and you can't remove that. So I've got a few like headings and groups that I don't want them to be able to remove. So I've added some really, really basic locking. And now you can just add a row as a pattern. You can just do it, add a pattern.
How do you do the locking? Sorry,
you do it as a block attribute.
Right, so it's on. Yeah, you've got to edit the attributes and say, yeah. I just wondered how you did it.
Yeah, like in the markup, you just pass it an argument. I can't remember exactly what it is.
Yep.
But it was quite easy. It was quite easy to find. I think I used fullsiteediting.com. Thank you, Carolina.
Yeah, very good.
As always. So really good. And now you can just add one of these new rows and it drops it in with some content and you can just click on it, change everything you need to change, and it's fairly robust. You can, it just works. Good.
Looks nice as well. Looks really nice. It's all core blocks with the little CSS and JavaScript, which is nice.
So the second one, the statistics one, was different in that I'd actually like to do this, I think, with a custom block, because I did have to hack about a little bit to get it working. I thought it was going to be really straightforward to start with, and I just add like a class to a paragraph block or something like that. But the way I want it to sit with like prefixes and suffixes, so it could be $3,000 per month or something, and I only want the 3,000 to animate, so it starts from 0 and ticks up till it gets to 3,000 on when it scrolls in. So that was a bit of a challenge. So then I needed to wrap things in a group, and I needed to give that group a class so I could style the group, so I could remove like the block gap and stuff, so that all those three things kind of sit together and line up properly. So that was a bit fiddly. And then I wanted to make sure that you don't see a flash of the number when the page initially loads. So it doesn't go 3,000 and then scroll back up to 3,000. And the only way I could figure out to do that was to use a pseudo element in CSS. So when it's not scrolled in, hide the actual value, the actual text of that element, and add a pseudo element that says 0, and then remove that 0 and show the text whenever it scrolls in and then starts counting up. A bit involved, and the markup for it is just slightly naff. And then I have to worry about what happens if someone makes that text bold, because then I need to target the text of the bold element, not the paragraph element. So there's stuff like that going on. So it's a bit messy. It's a bit messy. It works pretty well. It's like it uses core blocks, turned it into a pattern. You can edit stuff, in the editor. It's okay. I just don't feel like it's as robust. I think there's potential for that breaking.
When you demoed it to me, you said to me, "Oh, we'll just change the value in here." So you typed in a value like on the keyboard, and then we looked at it on the front end, and this thing started like going into a minus, and it wouldn't stop counting.
I haven't fixed that yet.
That was bizarre, but you did. I mean, you punched in like 20 numbers. It was like a really ridiculous number.
It was a really big number.
It was weird. It just like, and then we cut that number in half to test it, and it worked. It was fine.
Yeah.
So it's obviously some point the logic just goes a bit weird.
There's a really kind of probably overly complex function to try to get the iteration to slow down as it approaches the number. So it's like got a curve.
Quick
so it's
slow,
like speeds up through the initial numbers and then slows down, goes tick, 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 tick. I've got a feeling that calculation freaks out when there's too many increments.
Got you.
I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, because it was a massive number, so there would have been a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good. Good. Yeah.
So you've been having fun doing some PHP stuff, and I've been having some fun doing some front-endy stuff. It's been a good,
so it should
good
be,
week.
Definitely.
Yeah.
They were good blocks. I thought the outcomes with those were really good.
Thank you.
For what it looks like on the front end, and also particularly the timeline block, the editing experience is really simple and nice, and the stats block too. I think it's just a little bit more complicated, isn't it, with the different sort of prefix, suffix, value, and then having to do that. But still, patterns is going to help with that, and you can drop a pattern in and then make some changes to the content of it. It's going to be good.
Yeah,
Brill.
Yeah.
Moving on. More of a question for everyone else, I think.
Yeah.
So with our products, obviously people sign up with a email address, and that's the email address that we create the account with. And increasingly, we're getting a number of problems whereby people have lost their account details. And so what we do is send the password reset so they get an email in their inbox, but then they don't realize, or they don't seem to know which email address they've signed up with, and essentially they can't access their account. So we've been having real trouble because obviously for data protection reasons, I can't just, all I can do is communicate with the account holder's email address or any additional email addresses that we've added to the account, which everyone is asked when they sign up. Do you want to add any additional email addresses? For example, you might sign up with billing @ but you also want developers @ to have access to the account for debugging purposes, etc. So yeah, interesting. I don't know what people, if anyone else is in that situation, like people are asking about lost accounts and they're asking for you to give them information that I cannot give them because I don't know who they are, if that makes sense. That they are not the account holder because they're not emailing me from the account holder's email address. And it just becomes very frustrating because they can't give me the information I need. I can't give them the information they need in order to resolve their thing. So what I've come up with today is a method of them being able to tell me some information about the account that only they should know. For example, when is your payment taken? What date is it taken on? Or when was the last payment taken? If they can tell me that, then they probably are the account holder, or they certainly know, when that's happened. The last 4 digits of the card that's been used in the account, that's another indication of it. And what is their license key? So they should be able to tell me what the license key is because it's been run on the website that they're actually using. And also the site URL that is associated with that license is what I've gone for. And obviously, I don't know, I think if they can put all those 4 things together, then there's probably a good 99% chance that they are the account holder. And obviously, I'm fairly sure that particularly this example anyway, I mean, the guy's got the same name as the guy that purchased it. So, but it's coming from a different email address. So it's difficult to confirm for sure. I don't know. It's just an interesting problem. And it's something that's happening more and more and more, isn't it? We've had a few of them.
This probably wouldn't work either. But if we had a telephone number, we could text them a code or something. But then it's going to be the same problem. The person that signs up for it is going to be Bob, and he gives his telephone number, and then Bob leaves the company, and we send a message, and it goes to Bob. So yeah.
What usually happens is that Jane from marketing signs up for our product, and then uses her emails and her information to be associated with this. She then leaves the company. Someone else comes in and wants access to that account, and obviously I can't give them access to that account because it's not the account, so I can't do anything with that. And that's usually the scenario that we have. Usually, if someone has left the company, they could get access to the email of that person because obviously they'll go into some holding. I don't know what the people do in companies, but you can easily set that email address up again, for example, just to get this information.
Could we have some kind of checkbox on sign up saying, I am acting on behalf of such and such a company. Like if someone from domain.com contacts you, I give you permission to like, I
But
don't
the
know,
problem with that
something
is,
like that, like
I know what you
preempt it.
mean, but the problem with that is that you could get some, rogue employee that's just got the sack and just sends an email to us from his email address and just says, "Oh, by the way, I want you to cancel that account because I'm annoyed with you," and then that gets cancelled because they allowed us to, and then they don't want it cancelled. Don't know. It's difficult. Any suggestions would be appreciated, but that's the option we went for anyway. Hopefully, it'll help. And I don't know if there's any other suggestions. Something like what Keith was mentioning there that we could do to set up something on the account that they could, use to authenticate the fact that they do have legitimate access to the account. But the ultimate solution is, and we put this on the checkout page, like don't use a personal email address when you sign up. Use accounts at billing at info at whatever a generic one is better. But yeah.
Elliot's just said, what about a generic recovery email account for situations like that? Google does this, a super user. So could we have a secondary email address field in the sign up saying, right, you've just signed up with your personal account email. If you've done that, put in info at or something like a generic business email address here.
Oh, there is no UI for that in Easy Digital Downloads, so we'd have to custom build that in, which it's not going to be easy. I'm not saying it's going to be rock hard, but it's not going to be easy. So what we do is when they've signed up, they get an automated email from us basically saying, can we have the details of your website and to do the integration? And on that email, there's a list of 4 things that we ask for. And the last one says, please let us know if you have any additional emails that you want to add to your account, who will be able to communicate. Rarely do they do. Some do, but not many do, because but I can't make them do that.
Well, or can we? I don't know.
A different email address.
Could it be a form? Then that's a required field.
Possibly something to think about.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's not a major problem, but it is. It just, I suppose it will. The more customers you get, the more of these things will happen. But it just seems to be at the moment we've had 1 or 2 of those requests in the last few weeks, whereas we usually get 1 or 2 in the last few months or half a year or so forth.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anyway, there we go. I thought we'd just close up. We've done half an hour on some stuff that and I don't know if you've got any of these, Keith. I've put these into the description of the video. I think they should already be in the description of the video if you have a look. Basically, stuff I've been reading, watching over the course of the last week that I thought you might be interested in. One of them was introducing JavaScript Essentials course for WP developers from Aruba Ahmed. There is like a video course about JavaScript Essentials. I don't know how many videos are in the course. They're being released every day. So I haven't actually watched the latest one yet. But I have really enjoyed them. They were short, sharp, to the point, really key like JavaScript concepts. I don't know, did you watch that first video that I posted to you, Keith? I watched that first video, and the first thing I thought after watching about a minute of it was going, oh my God, I am not a developer, really, am I? Some of the sort of like concepts that were being discussed is like things that I just really don't understand.
Yeah.
I probably should. But it was really good. I enjoyed it. So if you get the chance to watch them, she has a YouTube channel, Aruba Ahmed. You'll probably find it if you go to YouTube. I've signed up, so I get an email every day that comes in and shows me the videos. So that was really good. Elliot's watching along. I also watched one of Elliot's videos about extending core blocks on his YouTube channel. So go and have a look at that. It was about doing the navigation and making it sort of like animate from the top using core blocks, but changing it. Really enjoyed watching that, which was good. And the other thing I found interesting is Block Bindings Part 2 has been published in the WordPress developer news section. So the Part 1, if you didn't read that a few weeks ago or last week, was all about how to bind custom fields to a block. So the value of custom fields can be output as the content of a block or attributes of a block. This one is about how to do custom bindings, which is interesting. So go and have a look at that. The links are in the description below. Some useful things you might find interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool to see the developer content starting to come alive for this new phase of WordPress, because that's been something that I've found really, really difficult. Is like, if you want to get anything done, you need to be the trailblazer. And now there's like great people like, like Elliot, like Aruba, like Brian Cords.
Yeah, Brian as well.
Like showing the way. So I watched a video of his recently. He's great. So check out Brian's YouTube channel, as well as Elliot's. And also, we've mentioned lots of times, and he gets a lot of love these days, Jamie Marsland, Poodle Press.
Yep.
If you want to see what is possible with the block editor, he's really, really great at like taking normal core blocks and just doing cool stuff with them. And you're just like, actually, yeah, that's a really nice, like, neat little trick, and it might give you like a nice idea for a site you're working on.
I think the video was WordPress Magic or something it was called. I ended up watching it, and it was really clever.
It was like cover blocks.
Yeah, really nice stuff, that. So yeah, do go and check out Jamie's channel. It's a really good block editor content and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Right, I think we will sign off for the week, and we'll be back next week at the normal time, unless circumstances arise that mean we can't be. But yes, hopefully you'll be able to join us then. Thank you, everybody who has joined us live on YouTube. If you've listened on the podcast as well, again, and I know there are people that do listen on the podcast, so thank you for listening again. And if not, we will see you next week.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.